Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Dr. Katie, and I'm a Tranquil Mind Naturopath here in Guelph. And today we're talking all about acupuncture and anxiety. This is something that I do a lot in my practice, and a lot of people, when I first suggest acupuncture for anxiety, they have a lot of questions, sort of, what is that, or how can that possibly help me feel less anxious? And so today I just wanted to come on and talk to you a little bit about what that is, and answer some common questions about acupuncture and anxiety, and then also take any of your questions live today. So my first question that I find that often comes up is is this going to work? And my quick answer is yes. Acupuncture is very effective for anxiety. There's lots of research for that, and it's also a very calming treatment. A lot of the times, you're laying down, and the treatment's just very calming. And one of the things it does is calm the mind. So that's something that when you experience acupuncture, it's quite calming in the moment. But acupuncture also works over time. It works to as you have more treatments of acupuncture, you find that the effects tend to last longer, and so that's something where you feel calm not only in the moment, but also sort of as you go along. Another question that comes up a lot when people want to know about acupuncture is they've heard of acupuncture, they've had maybe acupuncture for their shoulder pain or for their knee pain, or they know someone that's done that, and they want to know, is that the same? And the answer there is kind of. Acupuncture for your knee pain versus acupuncture for anxiety, you'll use the same types of techniques for both acupuncture, but the theory is different. And so just like acupuncture or medical acupuncture, traditional Chinese acupuncture uses small needles. I'll actually show you one right now. Oops. The joys of live video. So this is this is what it looks like. Just a little tiny needle. And so the needles are inserted into different points in the body to help calm the mind. And in Chinese medicine theory, the body is unique for each person. So the points, sort of where do the needles go? The needles go in different points depending on where you are, and they calm the mind, and they also put in points that are very nourishing. In anxiety in Chinese medicine, the mind is sort of is less rooted. It's sort of considered being a little bit higher up. And what we want to do is ground that and bring it down. And so a lot of the points in anxiety are doing this. And so another question people have is this painful? Does it hurt to get acupuncture? And the answer is no, it shouldn't hurt for acupuncture. The needles that go in, sometimes people feel them go in, sometimes people feel nothing. It's very individual, depends on how sensitive you are to the acupuncture needles. But if you do feel them, sometimes it's just like a little pinch or a bee sting. The needles are very small, much smaller than needles you would get for a blood draw or anything like that. It's much smaller than even a sewing needle. They're very small needles. And a lot of times when they're inserted, people feel nothing, but if they do feel something, it can be sort of a heaviness or an aching sensation, and in Chinese medicine that's called qi, and that's considered a positive thing to happen when you have this sort of achy sensation in your acupuncture points. And sometimes there are other sensations, but if it's ever uncomfortable, your acupuncturist or your naturopathic doctor should be adjusting those needles so that it's never uncomfortable for you. You should always be comfortable when you're receiving the acupuncture treatment. Let me just see my next question. Okay, so and the next thing that I was going to do for you was show you how acupuncture works. So the first thing that you do is you clean your hands. So I'm just going to do that first, and then all the supplies get set up in advance, and so everything is done to college standards, and everything's kept very clean. And the needles used, you can see that they're individually packed needles, so they're completely clean. And then the next thing that happens when you go for acupuncture is actually the skin is cleaned. So if I'm going to do an example of there, if I was going to insert a needle there, I would clean the skin. We'll just let that dry for a second. So the final thing that you do is insert the needle. So it's a very, very small needle, and it's inserted very quickly. It doesn't hurt. And you can see how tiny that is. I'm personally quite sensitive to acupuncture, so I do feel sort of like a prick when the needle passes through the first layer of my skin. And right now in my hand I feel sort of like an achy, buzzing kind of sensation, and that's pretty typical of what someone would feel. And then the needles usually hang in for about 15 minutes. And then when you're finished, the needles just get removed and they get disposed of into a sharps container. So everything's very very clean. Now, usually that's it. There are a few risks with acupuncture. The most common one I see is sometimes you get a little bruise. So there's lots of capillaries and tiny blood vessels under the surface of your skin. And so, you know, usually with acupuncture, you don't get a bruise, but that's sort of the most common little thing that can happen. And it's a very safe treatment. The risks of acupuncture are very low. And that's one of the reasons I love using it for anxiety is it's safe, it's effective, and it can be used in combination with any other treatment, therapy, medications that you're already using for anxiety. So it's just a really nice way to calm the mind. Thanks so much for tuning in to my live video, Ask Dr. Katie all about acupuncture. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment box and I can answer them. And if I don't get to them on the live video, I'll certainly answer them in the comments afterwards. If you have any questions about if acupuncture is a good fit for you, and questions about acupuncture and anxiety that are maybe a little bit more personal, that you can put them in the box below, or if you'd rather ask them in a more private setting, I'll put a link in the bottom of the comments. You can come on into my office in Guelph for a 15-minute chat, and we'll just give you a chance to figure out whether this is a good fit for your treatment. So again, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Ask Dr. Katie.